My name is Jasmine Brunson, and this is From the Heart, a Hoopers podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of From the Heart, a Hoopers podcast. And y'all, it's a 2-drop week. I'm gonna see what this Thursday is giving. But now y'all have 2 episodes to tap into before next Tuesday. So y'all gotta get into it. You can watch it, you can listen to it. I told y'all I'm on every platform. Last episode, we spoke about leading when you're not the star. How to lead when you're not the star. In this episode, we're gonna be having the very controversial "a coach stole my joy" conversation, or AKA "a coach made me want to stop hooping" conversation. And I can't tell y'all how many times I've had this conversation. I can't tell y'all how many times I've resonated with it. For a lot of players, this is something that they've had to navigate through, and I was no different. So if you haven't already subscribed to the official YouTube channel, please go do me that favor, as well as following the official Instagram page at From the Heart of Hoopers Podcast, as well as tapped in with me on every podcast platform. Now that we got business handled, let's get into it. Let me pose this question. Can a coach steal your joy? Or are you of the belief that a situation with a coach or that coach can make you stop playing or loving the game of basketball? Honestly, no matter how many times I have the conversation, no matter who I speak to, whether I'm trying to get a player out of thinking like that or get a player out of that mindset, or me personally resonating with it, it's not something that I can exclusively say I either agree or disagree with. I just feel like it's so many different layers to it, and it really, no matter how many times I have it, no matter who I speak to, different perspectives that I hear, I cannot exclusively say, okay, yeah, like, for sure, I wholeheartedly agree with it or I wholeheartedly disagree with it. There's a bunch of horror stories out there, I'm sure that y'all seen them, but it's a bunch of horror stories out there about, a player having a very tough relationship with a coach, or a player calling it quit because of a coach, because they lost the love of the game, they lacked confidence, anything of the sort. I personally know somebody that they had it up to here with one of their coaches, and they never put on the jersey again. Not for All-Star game, not for nothing. Like, they never wanted to hoop again. And I just knew for me, I just wanted to always walk away from the game on my own terms and when I wanted to. And luckily I was able to do that, but I never wanted to give a coach that much power. Honestly, like I said, I'm a Leo, so it could be just the pride in me that was just like, I'm not folding because of you. I don't care what it is that we go through. I don't care what it is that we talk about. I don't care what you say to me, but I can't give you that much power. The Leo in me just won't allow it. I would say I only had like one real time where a coach made me take hooping for granted, honestly, and just looking back, it's like, dang, I don't even know how I allowed that, because basketball, like I said, y'all know at this point, is something that it's always been a pure love for me. So I don't know how it ended up happening, but I can't lie, that is something that did happen to me. And obviously I've had coaches who challenge me. I've had coaches try different ways to motivate me, or I've had to deal with different coaching styles. Obviously, as you go throughout your career, you're not always gonna have the same type of coach. I've had some different types of coaches. Obviously I've had coaches that challenge me, coaches that push me beyond limits that I didn't even know that I had. Like, I'm over here thinking I'm tired and I'm winded, I'm gasping for air at times. Or it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm having a day. But then it's like, you push through that. I've had coaches that push me in that way. But or even the coaches that say wild stuff to you. It's just a part of basketball culture. Like, I think we all know at this point, it's just a part of basketball culture. You sometimes have those coaches that say wild stuff to you, just in hopes of motivating you. But I've also found that a lot of times, those are also the coaches that go out of their way to make sure that you're good. They go out their way to check on you. They go out their way to make sure that you know that their coaching style has nothing to do, or is completely separate from how they care about you as a player, how they care about you as a kid, how they care about you as a student athlete, whatever it is, how they care about you as just an athlete, period. So with this coach in particular, this felt completely different. I just knew it was, and it felt completely different than that though. And oftentimes when it comes to coaches, when it comes to, just the dynamic of, that player-coach relationship, I genuinely feel like it comes down to character traits. And just understanding that there's a responsibility on the behalf of both the player and the coach to maintain that dynamic of the relationship, and they both have a big part and a big role to play in the dynamic of the relationship between player and coach. And that might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not just standing on it, I'm stomping on that. The time that I'm referencing in terms of when I allowed a coach to, make me take the game of basketball for granted, I genuinely was confused on what else could be done, because some of the stuff, it wasn't even about basketball. And like, those are not rare cases, but kind of rare cases. It's not always a situation of like something wild happened behind the scenes between a player and a coach. Sometimes, yes, that does happen. That is the case. However, in my case, it was nothing like that. It was just, I knew some things had nothing to do with basketball. Or I also can say, in hindsight, it was easier to place blame. It was definitely easier to place blame and sit there and give all of these excuses as to why I'm not doing X, Y, and Z just because of whatever else might be going on. But it was easier to place blame than to chalk it up to the game, honestly. Like, no pun intended. It was easier to succumb to all of the emotions surrounding, just whatever conflict I was having with that coach. But then it's like, there goes that pride again, because I did not want that coach to be the reason that I broke. Like, yes, did they challenge me? And like, in different ways? Absolutely, for sure. However, it was like, again, I can't give that. I can't let you have that. I cannot let you have that. Again, that pride in me, I can't let you have that. I just can't. I can't let you have that. Personally, it was bigger than just the playing time issue. And that's a very common thing, and we're going to speak about that later in this episode. But for me, it was definitely bigger than a playing time issue. I feel like it's a whole different feeling when it's genuinely like your coach doesn't believe in you. It's different when you genuinely feel like your coach does not believe in you. Like, this is why now I say that there's a responsibility on both parties when it comes to the dynamic of a player-coach relationship, and that sometimes it also does come down to just character traits, because some of the best coaches, like, seriously, some of the best coaches I've ever had in my life were even better people. Genuinely even better people. And yes, obviously they went hard about X's and O's. Like, yes, it's about winning. It's about all of that. Yes, they still made me get on that line. Yes, it was practices where they wrote me all practice. Like, can't do nothing right. Can't do a thing right. And it's just like, dang, what you trying to make an example out of me? Like, I don't understand what's happening. They also made it a point to show up for me. And obviously that looks different for different people, and there's a big responsibility on a coach to show up in different ways. They especially head coaches, they wear so many different hats. However, they made it a point to show up for me as a person. Like, just show up for me as a kid, show up for me as an athlete. Whether it be just noticing that something's off with me and sitting me down and having a conversation, or you notice something is off, so it's like, okay, you're gonna schedule a meeting, or whatever the case is. It's just like, or even just knowing other passions of mine. Like, are we constantly just talking about basketball, or are we talking about other stuff? Like, and it's more than just when you have a recruit, when you're on an official visit, or when you're on a visit and you get that paper printout, there's a recruit profile and like different hobbies and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you don't be beyond that. And that's not even when it just comes to college, or whether it comes to high school, when it comes to anything else. Can we have a conversation about anything else and we're getting something out of it? Do you genuinely care about that? And it's common knowledge that the workload of coaches is just, it's crazy. Like, me pursuing that now, the workload of coaches is crazy. We all know that, but I think that's what makes it that much more special when you do run into those coaches, or you encounter those coaches that go the extra mile for you, whether you're the 15th man on the roster, or the 15th person on the roster, or the first. It's just like, I matter to you in more ways than just what I can do for you as a player. We've all seen it. I've seen so many players who might not get no ticket over. I'm talking about no PT, like none, but they still speak so highly of their coaches, and you might ask yourself, like, why? However, if we're asking or expecting coaches to find that balance when it comes to the temperature of their players are not off the hook. I'm not discrediting or diminishing all of the reasons as to why you can possibly place blame on a coach for just different things that make you not love the game anymore. Like, yeah, I understand that, depending on the situation. But it is, at the end of the day, still a partnership. Everything is not just on that coach. They're the most common situations I've either seen, been a part of, or heard of when it comes to a player falling out of love with the game of basketball due to a coach. First off, negative coaching. There's no type of balance between the encouragement from your coach and critiquing. And I've genuinely seen that before, where it's just a coach who always has something negative to say. Like, nothing that you do is ever good enough. I personally never... Have I ever dealt with that? I don't think I've ever dealt with that. It could be that or just constant yelling. And when I say constant yelling, I mean like, everything is just urgent. Everything is dire. Everything is just... Everything you gotta yell. Every critique is just... Oh my God. I've had coaches that yelled before all the time. However, it wasn't... Honestly, as long as it wasn't just a bunch of negative stuff, I was cool, to be honest with you. I actually prefer the coach that yelled. Give me something. Like, give me something. Give me something in there, just spark it up. Like, yeah, I preferred that. The second thing, favoritism. Oh my goodness. Like, and this is one of those ones, because favoritism is just... It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. If you've ever been on a team where it's just like, this one player could do no wrong, or these couple players or whatever, typically it's like one player, but they just could do no wrong. It's like they in the game, they probably go for the pill 3 times, turn the ball over like 3 times. That's a go for the pill beat. But 3 straight times, back to back, just wilding. I come in, turn the ball over 1 time. It's snatchies. What's T? What is the prop like? It comes with the territory. Again, it's just something within the basketball world, basketball culture. Either you deal with it or you don't. It is what it is, honestly. And the third one is lack of trust. That is also a big one. A lot of players have had a coach where it's like they do not allow them to make mistakes. And the player becomes scared to make mistakes. And then that's when they get the peeking over at the coach or at the bench every time they mess up or every time they forget something. Every time it's any inconvenience that's going to be noticeable, especially on film. Because film is just an eye opener. You thought it was sweet during the game when you decided to walk. You thought it was sweet. Run it back on film. We gonna see. Those short leash coaches, those just anything, just quick. So you out of there. Especially being on the other side of things now. I've seen kids get in the game and they start tweaking out. They start whamming. And I'm talking about they doing stuff that they ain't never worked on a day in their life. And it's just... I didn't even have the confidence to do stuff. Like, not even the confidence. It was just, I didn't have the audacity to do stuff like that. If I know for sure I didn't work on it, I'm not embarrassing myself in the game. Absolutely not. I'm just not doing it. But nowadays, I get why. I get some of the short leashes. Because I'm a firm believer in, if you do not work on it, if you don't drill it, if you're not putting in real hours doing this or doing these moves, trying this shot, pulling from this range, don't get in the game and do that. Because why? But those are the 3 most common reasons that I've found or that I've seen or been a part of. These things typically lead to players having a lack in confidence. And that's a big one. Players talking about, I'm not confident anymore. I don't have any confidence. Here to make a mistake. And now they have different mental battles going on in their head where they're second guessing themselves. It just comes with a lot of different things. And it just happens way too often. However, I do feel like as both players and coaches, especially as players, a better job can be done to protect your love for the game as well. None bigger than, in my opinion, everybody got opinions. They're just like, y'all already know, y'all know first. And then just remembering your why. Remembering your why can put a lot of different things in perspective. Like, yes, going to different situations is hard. There's going to be different points throughout your career where it might be challenging, or it's for sure going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a mental battle, a physical battle, different hurdles. And I think always keeping your why at the forefront, in the back of your head, wherever you keep your why, just puts different things in perspectives. And it keeps your mind on a bigger picture. It's like a what or who can't affect your why if you're serious enough about it, in my opinion. And as a player, you also have to be realistic about your situation. That's a big one on a player's part. Be realistic about your situation. You can't be crying or how you crying over not getting no playing time, but you don't put in no work. Or you're a liability when you do step out on the court. A liability offensively, a liability defensively. You don't know plays, you don't know defensive coverages, something. A coach can't come to the side, draw up a play, late game, end the game, which is a big thing. That's not in the playbook, but you're drawing out something in the game. Are you going to be able to go out there and execute it? or you're lacking in confidence, but you don't put the extra work in, you don't watch the extra film. There's different things that are in your control, and we spoke about that last episode, but there's different things that's in your control that puts you in a better position to get different things that you want. You cannot be talking about a lack of confidence, but you do not put the extra work in. Confidence comes from putting the work in, knowing that you put those hours in, knowing that you done drilled this while people was watching and while people wasn't watching. That's where that confidence is gonna come from. Or you're not rooting for your teammates and you're toxic in the locker room because you're mad that you're not getting playing time, or you're mad that things aren't going your way. So you just very toxic in the locker room, or you stale face on the bench not rooting for your teammates, and y'all winning games, y'all successful, y'all having success. Every time it's still you on the bench, just straight face, you pissed, you tight, like for what? Why? But you want to be a part of the team. That's not being a part of the team. Again, just be very realistic with your situation. It may not be going the way that you might want it to go. However, be realistic. Did you do everything that you could have done as a player? Did you exhaust all of your options, all of your resources? If you did that, and then it's still friction, it's still pressure, it's still whatever it might be, that might be a whole different situation. However, if you're not exhausting all of your options and exhausting all of your resources, it's only but so mad and so much blame you can place on a coach. And again, as somebody that's dealt with some of these things personally, I get it. I wholeheartedly understand it. I get it. However, sometimes it really is a twofold problem in a sense of what are you giving your coach to work with? And yet sometimes being realistic with yourself can be hard to accept. However, the reality of that situation is you can change it. Sometimes when you have that reality check moment with yourself and you realize, okay, I'm not doing everything that I could be doing to put myself in the best position to get what I want, sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow. It's like, dang. And while it's harder, it's definitely a more beneficial route to take. In a nutshell, my why was honestly something that's what kept me going. When I dealt with this, when I dealt with whether it be friction with a coach, or, just having those moments, like the love for this is kind of fading due to something completely external. And honestly, my love for the game of basketball, as pure as it is, as true as it is, from as young as I had it, it was never dependent on a person. It was never dependent on a who. It was just the art form that it is, the game that it is, the competition, all of that is what I fell in love with, and that's not dependent on a person. So I guess you could say my stance on a coach stole your joy or made me want to stop hooping, my stance on that would be, I feel as though you shouldn't let that happen. You shouldn't let it happen to where a coach steals your joy for the game of basketball, or your love for the game, or your love of hooping, your love of competing, all of that. I feel like, yes, it can happen. To me, it's not really a matter of can it or can it not happen. It can happen for sure. However, as much as you can allow it not to, allow it not. Whatever is in your control. If it's things that you need to be more realistic about, if it is just understanding that you have a responsibility both as a coach and as a player to water and nurture that dynamic between player and coach. Cherish that, take care of that, nurture that as much as you possibly can. But y'all can let me know in the comments, or y'all can DM me y'all stance on it, how y'all feel about it, or if you ever been in that situation. And as always, thank you for tuning into this episode of From the Heart of Hoopers podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to the official YouTube channel, as well as follow the official Instagram page at From the Heart of Hoopers podcast, as well as tapped in with me on, at this point, we all podcast platforms. And with that said, I will see y'all next week.